Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics and just checking in with a quick video because we did have some news out from First Majestic Silver last night after the close, as they have released their second quarter production numbers and wanted to walk you through the highlights where they came back with 7.9 million silver equivalent ounces. The breakdown there, 3.7 million ounces of silver and 33,865 gold ounces. And I might add that actually was at the Rick Rule Symposium yesterday, and we'll be back there in just a little bit today, and did record a call with Keith Newmeyer. So we'll have that to share soon as well, so you can hear the latest directly from Keith. But let us dig in here. And as I mentioned, you had the 7.9 million silver equivalent with the breakdown of 3.7 million silver ounces, 33.8 thousand gold ounces, with 16.1 million pounds of zinc, 9 million pounds of lead. Here a note from Keith Newmeyer, First Majestic CEO and President. And he says during the first half of the year, our operations achieved strong and consistent production and supported by disciplined cost management, which certainly is quite. I've obviously long-time mining stock investors know this, but certainly I've seen and really gained an appreciation for the importance of that, especially during times where inflation is not quite as low as some might suggest out there. But they closed the second quarter ahead of budget with strong momentum, despite weather-related disruptions and power outages that impacted production at Los Gatos, San Dimas, and La Encantada. And even despite that, they're revising their 2025 guidance positively to reflect improved production and cost targets. And as I talked with Keith about yesterday, the integration of Los Gatos is progressing well, with numerous synergies and opportunities already being identified and leveraged. And overall performance at Santa Elena and San Dimas continues to meet or exceed their expectations, allowing them to capitalize on the favorable metal environment, which people have been enjoying out there. And as we take a look at the highlights, well, we already mentioned that first one, but the silver equivalent production is up 48% year over year. Obviously, that includes the contributions from Los Gatos. Are continuing their exploration program. They've completed a total of 67,830 meters of drilling in the Mexican mines. And they have 28 drill rigs currently active, with 7 at Los Gatos, 7 at Santa Elena, 13 at San Dimas, and 1 at La Encantada. As I mentioned about a month ago, they did have their second discovery at Santa Elena, which is named Santa Nino. And I will link to that video at the end in case you did not catch that or would like a review of that. And that's 900 meters south of the Santa Elena plant, and also the second discovery that they made there in the past 12 months. So obviously very important in the mining industry to keep exploring and replenishing the mines as they get depleted and extending the life of mines. So as we take a look at the individual mines, Los Gatos produced 2.4 million attributable silver equivalent ounces. That was 1.52 million ounces of silver, 16,000 pounds of zinc, 9,000 pounds of lead, and 706 gold ounces. Mill processed 233,480 tons of ore at head grades of 230 grams per ton silver, 4.24% zinc, 2% lead, and zero point 0.2 grams per ton gold. And they've been working on achieving a sustainably higher mill throughput at Los Gatos, and they actually reached a record of 4,125 tons per day in the second quarter. Silver recoveries 88%, zinc 74%, lead 88%, and gold 47%. And they do have those 5 rigs. And they did have 5 drill rigs complete 12,788 meters of drilling. Santa Elena, they produced 2.3 million silver equivalent ounces during the quarter. That breaks down to 306,000 ounces of silver and 20.6 thousand ounces of gold. That was a 10% year over year decrease, which was the result of lower ore grades from the Ermitaño mine. Although that did align with the mine plan, and the second quarter production was ahead of budget. Mill processed 269.8 thousand tons of ore, 5% higher than last year, at average silver grades of 55 grams per ton and gold head grades of 2.54 grams per ton, which were lower in the quarter, although again in line with the mine plan. Silver recovery 64%, gold recovery is 94%. and they had 7 drill rigs complete 22,751 meters of drilling. At San Dimas, they had 2.464 million silver equivalent ounces, a 17% increase relative to last quarter. That was 1.242 million ounces of silver, 12,472 ounces of gold. The mill processed 219,000 tons of ore, an increase of 20% relative to last year, with average silver and gold grades of 197 grams per ton for silver and 1.9 grams per ton for gold. And the higher throughput rate was driven by the increased mining rate, which enabled a buildup of an ore stockpile and supported above nameplate mill performance during the quarter. Gold and silver and gold recoveries, 90 and 93% respectively, and a total of 13 drill rigs completed 29,746 meters of drilling. And then over at La Encantada, they came back with 628,000 ounces of silver. Nice little stack for someone. 628,000 ounces of silver, which was a 7% increase relative to the second quarter, driven primarily by a 20% increase in ore processed and an 8% increase in silver recoveries, which was slightly offset by lower silver grades. Mill processed 281.3 thousand tons of ore with an average silver grade of 106 grams per ton. And the silver recovery for the quarter was 65%, while one drill rig completed 2,500 meters of drilling. And then, in terms of just updating the outlook for the rest of 2025, the gold and silver price assumptions for the second half have been revised to 30 and 2,800 per ounce, respectively. So, increases there, perhaps still somewhat conservative, at least to where we are today. And we'll see what the second half of the year has in store. But they have updated those assumptions. And at Los Gatos, they are increasing the attributable production forecast to 9.1 to 9.7 million silver equivalent ounces, which is an increase of 6% to the original guidance. And that's driven by the higher throughput rates and improved silver grades. At Los Gatos, Santa Elena, they're increasing the production forecast to 8.8 to 9.4 million silver equivalent ounces, and that's a 12% increase to the previous guidance based on higher gold grades and increased gold recoveries. San Dimas increasing the production forecast to 9.9 to 10.5 million silver equivalent ounces, an increase of 7%, primarily due to the higher throughput rates. And First Majestic has also increased its capital budget by 7% to 193 million, which is going to go towards a couple of interesting projects: the plant expansion at Santa Elena, early stage development at Navidad, and the acquisition of additional equipment to enhance and sustain higher throughput rates at Los Gatos. So certainly things that would be helpful in the quarters and years ahead. And First Majestic also updated their production guidance to 30.6 to 32.6 million silver equivalent ounces. That's compared to the previous range of 27.8 to 31.2. And that is based on a 6% increase in silver production and a 2% increase in gold production guidance. That's not materialized yet, but that range in the terms of the increase of what they're expecting for this year, that is the breakdown there. And then if you look even more specifically, the actual silver production, now they are looking at 14.8 to 15.8 million ounces compared to the prior guidance of 13.6 to 15.3 million ounces, which is a 6% increase at the midpoint. Cash costs, they're expecting to come down to a 1394 to 1437 range compared to 1410 to 1486. And all-in sustaining cost, they're looking at 2002 to 2082 per silver equivalent ounce, and that's pretty much in line with the wider range that was offered earlier in the year of 1989 to 2127. So in line with a 1% improvement on the midpoint average. So fortunately, in addition to the call I'll be releasing that I just recorded with Keith, which that will be out in the next couple of days, but they will also be holding a shareholder conference call, which will be covering the earnings, which will be covering the second quarter earnings. So always a good place if you do have questions for management to get some of those answered. And With that said, going to wrap up for here. But again, if you had not seen the video about the exploration success that First Majestic has been having, well, that video is coming your way now.